concept. When people talk about what they consider to be the worst races of all time, typically the events that stand out and get attention are those that stand out historically for negative reasons, those with certain crashes or multiple crashes, or those where the sanctioning body did something wrong and messed the race up. Rarely thought of are the events that just plain stunk, where nothing notably bad happened, just that the race itself was bad. And I mean bad, not just skin deep with an accident or lack of action, but ugly clear to the bone. So I present to you a race so bad we collectively wiped it from our minds. The 2020 General Tire 200, ARCA at Talladega. The ARCA Racing Series events at Daytona and Talladega tend to be exciting races. Like most superspeedway races in NASCAR, you get the good, and sometimes you get the bad. The good is when you have a competitive race with the parity that you may not normally get at most tracks. The bad is when the competition isn't particularly good, or when the race turns into a wreckfest late, devolves into chaos, and hardly anyone finishes in one piece. We confuse the latter with being a good race sometimes, because we'll see a team that normally is nowhere even close to competitive ride it out and maybe get a top 5 finish, and yeah, that's a nice bonus, but it's a slice of processed cheese on top of a burned steak. What happens when none of that goes the fans' way? What happens when there are no underfunded cars up front, and there are no wrecks, and there's no passing? The green flag flies, and nothing happens at all. You don't just have a bad race, you have a boring race. And at a track like Talladega, that's almost a crime. Let's set the stage. The year is 2020. The coronavirus is here, and the sporting world is coming out of the COVID-related lockdowns. The race is on June the 20th, the first for the ARCA series since March 6th in Phoenix. There aren't any fans in the stands, and no one on track is sick, but the series is extremely unhealthy. The major NASCAR series teams have means through sponsorship of running anywhere, anytime, even in a pandemic, but that didn't seem like the case for ARCA at the time, and a lot of the smaller teams suffered in 2020. Drivers that maybe were hoping to find a ride couldn't get one, with businesses shuttered, face-to-face meetings gone, track access for fans and VIPs gone, and I mean generally the commercial world did not have time to worry about stock car racing. Entire teams just couldn't race either due to sponsorship or due to their members having to worry about day jobs, lack of day jobs, and the concern about the virus. The result was a skeleton race. Daytona and Talladega thrive when there are full fields of cars, and even in years in the ARCA series where the entry lists have waned, those races oftentimes find a way to fill out. Entries here in 2023, the previous year, were pretty weak, but Daytona still drew 40 and Talladega drew 34. In 2020, Talladega drew 21 cars. And that 21 includes a few that weren't going to run the full race. The zero car didn't even take the green flag, so we're down to 20 at the start. It's a rocky start, which leads to the field being slightly spread out and eliminating any kind of 2 or 3 wide racing within a few laps. And by the end of lap 3, there's already a 6-car breakaway, consisting of the 3 Venturini Toyotas, the Gibbs Toyota driven by Riley Herbst, the DGR Ford driven by Haley Deegan, and Brett Holmes in his Chevy. And there's your show. After about 10 laps, Michael Self in the Venturini 25 loses the end of the train, and it becomes a 5-car, single-file line. No one has any intention of pulling out and making a pass, because it's not necessary, and also not entirely possible. With so few cars in a pack, there's no real way to get a run on anyone, so they all just settle in line and wait for the race break. A few more cars break down and pull off, including the 22 of Brandon Lynn, which was a competitive entry. By lap 15, the leaders have a 5-second advantage, led by Drew Dollar in the Venturini 15. Eventually, another competitive car in Tanner Gray has mechanical issues. 30 laps in, all green flag, we're down to 12 cars on the lead lap. Lap 32, another good car has issues, as Gus Dean in the Wintron 32 hits pit road. Again, nothing else is happening until we get to lap 38, and with the competition race break coming, the top 5 finally tries to make some moves as they go side by side, Herbst trying to overtake Dollar. Dollar holds him off, and the field comes to the yellow with 7 cars on the lead lap, 16 cars running, and we've still got another 30-some laps to go. After just a little bit of slicing and dicing on the restart, Herbst assumes the lead, and within a lap or two, we're back to the single-file breakaway of the top 5. Herbst, Dollar, Ryan Repko in the Venturini 20, Holmes, and Self. With so few other cars running, there's no potential for anyone else to get up there and threaten this group, and again, no chance of anyone in the top 5 pulling up a lane and gaining positions. Nor would they want to, because 3 of the 5 are teammates, and 4 of the 5 are Toyotas. So for the next 30 laps, virtually nothing happens, with the top 5 riding around in the train. With 10 to go, they mix up slightly as they lap half the rest of the field, shuffling Holmes to 3rd, Self to 4th, and Repko to 5th before he loses touch. Coming to 7 to go, Dollar tries to make a move around Herbst, who blocks. Self pushes his teammate to no avail, and they settle back in line. Their bobble allows Repko to rejoin the pack. Herbst leads, Brett Holmes is up to 2nd. And really, for the entire second half of this race, Brett Holmes is screwed. He's been the lone Chevy out here. Even running 2nd, he knows that if he tries to pass Herbst, the Toyotas behind him aren't going to follow. There's nothing that he can do. The Venturini cars are 3rd, 4th, and 5th, with 6th place a whole 26 seconds back. So they wait, and they wait, and again laps are burned, just circling around waiting for the end. There are no natural cautions in this race. No one crashes, no one spins, no one hits the wall. Nothing of any consequence happens until there's 2 to go. Self backs up to Dollar, and they get a run past Holmes, who again has no play. Repko pushes Dollar, Dollar pushes Self ahead of Herbst, but wiggles him down the track before they're clear of Herbst, and Self gets sideways off his bumper. Self almost spins out, but somehow miraculously saves the car, and we stay green. What that does is spread the leaders out. Drew Dollar has a huge lead over Repko and Holmes at the white flag. Now, ordinarily, it would seem like Holmes could push Repko up and catch him, but that never happens. They do get close to Dollar, but Repko likely is under orders not to let Holmes ruin the team's 1-2 finish. So that's exactly what happens, and as Repko fans out coming to the checkers, Dollar wins the race unopposed. An entire race dominated by team-ordered single-file trains ends with a finish that isn't particularly competitive. I don't blame Toyota and Venturini for keeping the train on the tracks almost the entire event, because really, it was the smart move to make to ensure that their cars got the best possible results, and that's what happened. The Toyota cars finished 1st, 2nd, 4th, and 5th. 7 cars on the lead lap. 15 cars running. 2 cars led laps. So while fortunately no one left on a stretcher and nothing was torn up, nothing happened. Nothing happened in this race. Drew Dollar picked up his first career Touring Series win, which as of today is his only win, and he might be done racing, and because of restrictions, didn't celebrate with the fans or in victory lane. Michael Self had an incredible save. Some cars broke down, and that's your race. They were fortunate that there weren't any tickets sold for this one, because even watching from home, I felt like I was entitled to some kind of compensation just for watching it. We see races at superspeedways occasionally settle down into single-file lines, just running out the clock, but never for virtually the entire scheduled distance. What a race.